of a commitment and just so much more success on the ground last week, Jason. It was good to see.
Yeah, it was great to see. It was great to see we actually moved the ball, pretty effectively on offense, and especially in key moments, goal line situations, short yardage. We were able to make those conversions, something we haven't seen throughout the first few weeks of the season. And then, we just went with more traditional personnel. You saw some I formation. We saw Cole Kmet in the backfield. But we also saw our guy, Doug Kramer, line up at the fullback position on the goal line. I was very tickled and happy to see that. So, we just kept it simple, and you don't have to get cute in those critical situations. And sometimes you just got to let them know, like, hey, we're gonna out physical you, on this play and convert.
What do you think it is about Khalil Herbert that's made him sort of fall out of favor? And is there any way he gets back in their good graces, or is this going to be, barring some injuries, is this mostly going to be Swift and Roschon going forward?
Yeah, that's a great question because, Khalil Herbert's been, non-existent. He's mainly been on special teams, and, I've seen him back there on kickoff return, even though we know that play barely exists as well. Right. So,
yeah.
It's puzzling. You got a guy, I think, that can really help you. A guy that's a little bit different, I'd say, from DeAndre and Roschon. I think he's kind of a mixture of both because, I think he, in terms of running inside on the interior, I think he's probably a little bit, in my opinion, better than DeAndre. But out on the perimeter, I think DeAndre is better. And then, I think Roschon's a more power than Khalil. So it's going to be tough. I think we're going to see more of DeAndre, obviously, after the week he had last week, and more of Roschon mixed in. And I think they found something, and they found a way in terms of how to utilize the DeAndre Swift. You can't just, pound the ball with him on the interior. You've got to be effective on, yes, you're going to run outside zone with him because he's an outside zone runner, but they saw how they can utilize him in the passing game, get him out, matched up on the linebacker, option routes. They even had him split out wide as the number one receiver. He can run, I think, pretty much the entire route tree as a receiver. So, and get him involved in the screen game. And that's his game. He's a guy that can generate explosives for you from the backfield, and that's how to continue to utilize him.
What do they have to do to get DJ Moore going a little bit more here? They got DeAndre Swift going, like you said. They do the same thing, or do they make a concerted effort this week to get DJ going a little bit?
Yeah, I think, with your playmaker, defenses are going to try to find a way, obviously, to take away your best guy. And you just got to try to find ways to scheme him open, get him easy completions, get him going. And then once you do those things, the big plays will come. And we saw, Shane Waldron did a good job on 3rd and 5 down around the goal line. He schemed him up. He put him inside the slot position, and he got matched up on a linebacker. I mean, that's stealing for an offensive standpoint when he's lined up on a linebacker in man coverage. So, I think we're going to see more of that, him being in different positions, whether he's out wide, he's in the slot. We even saw him get a carry, it got called back, but I love seeing him, getting a carry, just trying to put the ball in his hands because good things happen when you put the ball in the hands of a playmaker like DJ Moore.
Offensive line's going to be a little bit makeshift going this week also. What's it going to look like?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I think we'll see more of Nate Davis. I think, Matt Pryor did some good things, but the good thing is I think as a unit, those guys got better. And when you're facing a defense, you're facing a team that's, reeling for a win. You're in a game that you're supposed to win, and it's going to be harder because, I just hope that, everybody up at Hallis is really, focusing in on the details because, you don't want to overlook anybody. You don't want to say this game is going to be a layup. Any given Sunday, as me and Jurko knows, anything can happen. They can come out, they're going to put their best forward and try to get a win, and we've got to take it seriously in terms of preparation. Like our backs are against the wall, and not like we're playing, an opponent that's going to lay it out for us. So, I hope they continue to build upon the momentum that we gained from last week's win, and go out there and put it on display on Sunday.
Derek Brown lost for the Panthers in week 1, their best defensive lineman. Shaq Thompson lost for the year last week. That's too bad, too, after he had a season-ending injury very early in the year a season ago. Looks like Josie Jewell's going to be a no-go for the Carolina Panthers, another one of their linebackers. So it adds up to maybe being able, to your point, like take advantage of an opponent here. You're catching them at a good time and successfully running the ball again, hopefully, with all of the pieces that the Panthers have missing from that front seven, Jason.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of their key playmakers on defense are out. That bodes well for the Bears. But, the main thing is what we've seen in terms of our offense the first weeks of the season is a lot of self-inflicted mistakes. We talk about it all the time. It seems like it's a broken record. pre-snap penalties, holding, big plays being called back. And when you're facing a defense, yes, they're lacking playmakers, right? But it's still a defense structurally that can give you problems if you're not on the same page. You know, they're an odd front or a 3-4 defense, which they have 3 down linemen and 4 linebackers. So communication and protection, communication in the run game has to be at a paramount, so that way they can execute at a high level. So that's what I was saying when the coaches talk about, being detail oriented, focusing on the details, making the right checks. Caleb's got to be aware he's got to make the right mic point, with 4 linebackers back there, and they'll move around to try to create some confusion. But as a whole, this offense has to be on the same page in terms of communication. And if you are, they can execute at a high level. If you aren't, doesn't matter who's out there. All these guys are in the NFL. They're capable of playing well on any given Sunday, and that's what can happen to you.
Did you see growth from Caleb again from week 3 to week 4?
I definitely did. I saw a lot of growth, and it's just the little things, right? You have a young quarterback that has a lot of expectations around him, and yes, he wants to generate the big play. He wants to push the ball downfield, and we've seen overthrows and stuff like that. But where I saw growth and maturity with Caleb is him taking the check downs, him taking the easy deposits that the defense giving him. In certain situations, he threw the ball away, not trying to force the ball that led to early interceptions that we saw throughout the season. So, I'm thrilled. I even saw him, making declarations in terms of IDing the defense, making the right mic point to make sure that they're on the same protection. They're on the same page in terms of pass protection and stuff like that. So that's the continued growth that you want to see from a young quarterback, that he's really starting to see the game as a whole. He's just not just out there running and gunning, but he's starting to have a grasp in its entirety of the offense, and he's bringing his teammates along with him.
This was a team that was number 1 against the run last year defensively. Why have they struggled this year against the run?
Yeah, I just think, it's tough. You got guys that are finding ways to scheme you open. You look at last week, you playing a good, offensive coordinator, and Sean McVay does a really good job of, a lot of pre-snap movement shifts to gain, advantages to whatever side of the defense that they're running at. And if you're not on the same page, or if a lineman is not in the right gap, if they don't have good gap integrity, well, then those big runs will happen. So, I think it's just, honing in and focusing on those areas, making sure that everybody's in the right gap, everybody's rallying to the ball. And I think that's something that they'll get cleaned up and corrected.
All right, so what's your schedule like next week? You going with the team, or do you have coaching duties that are going to keep you back here? And are you going later in the week to London? What's happening?
Man, it's funny you asked that. There's so many different scenarios that we talked about leading up to this London trip. But, I will not be making the trip. We have a game on Friday that I'll be coaching. And it's my son's senior year, so I didn't want to miss that. But I will still be on the call, but it'll be a different perspective in terms of being on the call.
So you'll still be with it, but yeah, I figured at least until through the week because of coaching duties that you were going to stick around. So, all right, buddy, we'll talk to you next Thursday. Get a little preview of the London game, okay?
All right, guys. Thanks. You guys have a good day.
You too, man. There's Jason home for Bears football.